Hi again. So, since we are done for our discovery tour, now we are heading to Hidden Passage store. We are kind of late, that's why we are running just to catch up since they are already in the meeting area already. So, let's go. Nahuli kami, pero hindi pa naman sila nakalayo.
I'll be your tour guide for today. Now, that area we just passed right on over there is going to be what's known as our sinkhole, and that's going to be the beginning of our story today. Now, up until about 5,000 years ago, we theorized that that sinkhole used to be the uppermost room of our cavern system over there, our discovery tour. But about 5,000 years ago, thanks to weather and erosion, that room ceiling did collapse upon itself, leaving behind the sinkhole, as well as on the far side over there, our 60-foot natural bridge, which is where we get our name from, Natural Bridge Caverns. Now, the sinkhole was known about since the early 1900s by local farm hands, but it wasn't until 1960 that 4 college students from St. Mary's University of San Antonio were allowed to go down there and take a look around. Now, they went on 4 expeditions, the first 3 of which they did not find anything. They were just kind of wandering around like college students do. But on their 4th expedition, they did find a 120-foot long crawlway that led to a whole 2 miles of caverns that run off to the north. Now, after they found that, it wasn't until 3 years later, 1963, that development began and continued until July 3rd of 1964, when we sent our first tours down. About 3 years after that, so in 1967, a theory arose that that was the middle of the cavern system instead of the beginning. Now, as that runs off to the north, they start taking a look off to the south towards where we are, and they drilled 4 exploratory well shafts. The first 3 of which were 8 inches across, 160 feet down, but they didn't find anything. They were essentially just 3 holes punched into the ground. But on their 4th try, about 90 feet below the ground, they found a 20-foot void space, so a pocket inside the limestone. Now, after they found that, since that well shaft was only 8 inches across, they brought a man named Mr. Seidel down here, and he lowered a camera down through that well shaft. He took 4 pictures, 3 of which came back black, 1 of which came back with a wall with some formations on it. Now, we care about the 3 that came back black, as it pointed to the idea that the room they had found was so large that the flash could not reach the other side. So they knew they had quite the discovery on their hands, and they widened that wall shaft to about 22 inches in diameter, which is what that black circle there represents. So imagine going 90 feet down to the ground through a hole about that big. Sounds like fun, right? No, nobody wants to go through the hole. Yeah, see, I like you. You sound like fun. Now, Jack First being a case developer, Reggie Weiss being the landowner, and Miles Kuykendall being the tour guide at the time, thought it was a little bit different. They went through that well shaft 90 feet down into that cavern room. When they got down there, they went towards the uppermost part of the room as they were looking for a natural exit. However, they never found one. So they went back down, and at the bottom of the room, they ran into a second abrupt wall. Now, what's kind of weird about that is usually when you have a large cavern room such as the one they had, it will usually taper off into smaller rooms. However, this one was a dead end on both sides. So they theorized that at the bottom of the room, there was a tunnel that had collapsed to a different part of the cavern system. With that in mind, they went back up the 4th wall shaft, went further south, and drilled a 5th wall shaft. About 160 feet down, they found another void space, another room, which gave us our name, our Hidden Passages. Now, that was all in 1967, but it wasn't until 1985 that development began. They blew open this entrance tunnel behind me, put in some trails and some rails. However, in 1986, development had to dead stop. There's a lot of development going on around the park, and since this was kind of a pet project at the time, it got thrown onto the back burner for another 12 years after that, all the way until 1999, when we put in the rails, trails, and lights, and started sending tours down ever since. Now, I am going to go over some rules, but before I do so, does anybody have any questions over the history so far? Yes? What's the black circle for? It's to represent the hole that the people who found the cave went through when they first found it. So can you imagine, you know what a foot is? You know how big that is? Do you know what a basketball is? It's about the size of a basketball. Imagine 90 basketballs stacked on top of each other, down. That's a long way down, isn't it? Because we as mammals have lots of oils and acids on our hands. If we touch those rocks, those formations, it will either stunt or completely kill their growth. It is also considered a third-degree felony in the state of Texas, and nobody wants to go to jail for touching a rock. We're also going to ask guys not to smoke or vape inside the cave. That can also damage formations, as well as we do not permit any food or drink other than bottled water. If you have anything on that, just please throw it away in this trash can before we do go down. But again, bottled water is totally fine. We're also going to ask guys not to take any flash photos of any animals. Animals specifically, if you guys want to take flash photos of the cave, that is totally fine. However, if you see a bat, cricket, whatever it may be, just please don't flash in the face. You guys can kind of imagine they live in darkness all day, and if you got a blinding flash to your face in the middle of your day, you probably wouldn't be very happy about that. 193 if you count the ones outside, which I have. Now, that is considered quite strenuous. We do ask you guys to take into consideration any physical limitations you guys might have, such as a bad knee, bad back, whatever it may be. We're just trying to avoid any medical situations. However, if anything does happen, just please notify me immediately, and I can get help on the way. Just know you guys will be in close contact with either staff or medical personnel for about 30 minutes to an hour. Other than that, they're allowed to keep wet surfaces with low lighting, so we do recommend rubber-soled shoes, as they do quite a bit with traction, as well as we ask you guys to stay with the group and behind me at all times. If you guys go too far forward, too far back, I can't see you, I can't hear you, I can't help you if you do need anything or just have any questions. Two more things. You guys are going to see a lot of these little brown boxes throughout the cave. That is hand sanitizer. If you guys would like to use that, please feel free to do so, as well as we are going to be running into a moment of total darkness. This is the complete and utter absence of all light. It's kind of like you're becoming temporarily blind. It is also, personally, my favorite part of the tour. However, if anybody does have a problem with the darkness, claustrophobia, anything like that, just please take that into consideration before we do go down, as it is a mandatory part of the tour. And when I say a moment for that, I really mean more like a few minutes.
Okay.
All right. Any questions or concerns before we go down? Yes?
How many minutes does the darkness
Does the darkness last? I mean, it's kind of up to my discretion. Usually we take it around 2 or 3 minutes, something like that. So we're not down there for half an hour in the dark. Unless you want to.
That would be good.
Any other questions? All right then. Y'all can follow me.
I know. I saw like a pretty red spider. I think so.
Sure, was praying mantis or was it
Head. Napanghi na.
Especially on the way back up, it does get quite hot. Now, this is a two-way tour. We will be coming back up this way. So if anybody wants to leave any jackets or anything like that up on the rail, I would definitely recommend doing so. As on the way back up, you'll more than likely feel like you're on fire. I take that from personal experience.
So we're gonna come out. We're gonna come out the same path.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you guys might also have noticed, yes, I did close and lock the metal gate up and behind us. Now, don't worry, I'm not trapping anybody down here. Yeah. But if anybody does want on the tour at any point in time, just please let me know. Don't just walk out on your own, as you'll be stuck inside of this tunnel. I've had that happen once, it's not a very fun time. There are also going to be 2 spots where I'm going to ask you not to turn on any flashlights or take any flash photography. Oh, did I also forget to mention, it'd be about 9 years or so. Oh, wow.
What is that? Parang same din pala doon. Ayan tita, oh, tingnan mo sa taas, parang tusok-tusok.
I know. Come on.
Looks like a table with the people in
Wow, it's so dark. Oh, ito siguro yung tanong mo kanina.
All the smoke would get trapped in here. And then 2, that smoke actually kills the formations. About 30 miles away from here to the west is a town called Burning. In there's a place called a cave without a name. That's literally its name, is a cave without a name. And when you first go in there, the first thing you see on the ceiling, it's black. And that's because in the Prohibition era, moonshiners went in and made moonshine. All right, y'all. Well, welcome to the Jeremy room. Now, as you guys might be able to tell from that echo, it is quite a large room. Spans about 100 feet tall, it's about 80 feet long. If you guys want to take a look off over the far rail into the darkness, you guys will see a small light come on. Now, right down there is going to be that fourth wall shaft I was talking about beforehand. So that's where Jack, Reggie, and Miles did come down into this room. Now, again, when they got down here, they came up towards where we are as they were looking for a natural exit. But again, they never found one. So they went back down and ran into that second abrupt wall that I mentioned earlier, shortly after that point down there. Now, as they only had headlamps, flashlights, that kind of stuff, they weren't able to fully appreciate the room, at least not in its entirety. So this is a little bit of what they missed. A little bit bigger than what you guys were expecting? Yeah. Now, as you guys take a look around, you'll notice this is quite a heavily decorated room. Now, all the formations inside the cave come in two major classifications, known as dripstones and flowstones. I'll start with dripstones. Down on the floor, growing towards the ceiling, are stalagmites. They might reach the ceiling one day. And on the ceiling, towards the floor, are stalactites. They will tighten the ceiling. Now, when a stalactite and a stalagmite come together, they form what's known as a column. A good example being right down there. We also have these very thin stalactites up here, known as soda straw stalactites. They get their name from their thin appearance, but also from the fact that they're hollow inside. So, if you were to break one off, you'd be able to drink through it like a straw. A very expensive straw, but a straw nonetheless. Now, we also have flowstones, some good examples being right up and behind me. Now, right up here where my shadow is pointing, this little pinch in the wall, is going to be known as a cave ribbon, and that ribbon can continue to grow even further into what's known as a cave curtain, right over here where my shadow is pointing, which is just where that ribbon starts to hang down into the room a little bit. In fact, all of these big spiky ones are also considered cave curtains. Now, the cave curtain can continue to grow even further into what's known as a cave drapery, which is just where that curtain touches the ceiling, the wall, and the floor all at the same time. However, there are no good examples of that up here, but later on down that way, I can point one out. Now, as I am pointing all these out, you guys might start to wonder how exactly our formations do come to be. And no matter their shape or their size, all the formations inside the cave form through the same process. As water comes down to the ground, it'll pass a whole bunch of dead plants and animals, constantly releasing CO2, or carbon dioxide. Now, the water will grab that CO2 and become what's known as a weak carbonic acid. Kind of like soda water. No carbonation, you know what I'm talking about? I will take that as a yes. All right. Now that will then come down into our limestone layer, dissolve a small portion of that limestone into a mineral known as calcite. That will then flow down into our cavern system, disperse the CO2 into the air, and wherever it may drip or flow, it will then deposit that calcite at about the rate of 1 cubic inch per 100 years. So, to give you guys a little bit of reference, about the size of this flashlight right here would take approximately 450 years to form. Wow. Definitely makes you wonder how old some of these are, doesn't it? Now, there still is a third kind of formation I've yet to mention, known as shield formations. They form through cracks or fissures in the walls or ceilings, or even another formation itself. And we can see some of those right above us. Now, up here where my shadow is pointing, these little bulbous formations are going to be known as turnip or beet shield formations. They're what used to be soda straws, but as they grew, they got a crack in the side of them, which allowed water to seep out and start depositing calcite around the outside. We also have these blank plates up here on the ceiling, known as parachute shield formations. Now, this first kind of blank plate you guys see here will eventually grow and hold a second plate of stalactites. Eventually, those stalactites will become large and heavy enough that they will actually detach and fall from the ceiling. We know they will fall, we just don't know when. So, to take a look at where we're going,
That's the scary part.
around the middle of the room, just in case if one of those were to fall, it would not hit us. So do not fret. Now, if one was to fall, that'd be pretty neat. Probably scare the crap out of every single one of us, but we would be the first people to see one fall inside of this cave. So here's to hoping, right? Mm-hmm. No?
That's scary.
Alright. Before we do continue on, does anybody have any questions so far? Alright then. Thank you, voices. Alright. As we go down, please be very careful. You guys might notice the floor down here is quite slick, so please be very careful with your steps.
Careful,
Andy. Expect the stairs to be a little bit steeper than they look. Sometimes they can play a little bit of a trick on your eyes. As well as always hold on to the handrail. I slipped in here.
Over there.
Yeah. There would have to be a lot of reasons.
No. Huh? That is so nice. Hold daddy, please. The stairway going down here in Hidden Passage is too deep. Other than the Discovery one is not as deep as this one, so you make sure that you're gonna wear a comfy hiking shoes and just be careful. Like I said, it's too deep. It's going down, and it's a bit slippery, so the good thing here is it has a what you call that, footstep going down, wherein you can also hold on the side of the walking path.
You guys will see that fourth well shaft again, right up there. So again, that is 90 feet down from the surface. It is 22 inches across, 90 feet down. That is how our discoverers got into this room to begin with. Now, as we take a look at where that well shaft is, if they had taken it any further to the left, even another 5 or 6 feet, they could have completely missed this room. However, if they had taken it further to the right, towards the middle of the room, they had the possibility of hitting any of the formations up there, including our little smiley face up there. You guys see what I'm talking about? Little dot dot nose, little smile, it's even got a little key, a little soul patch. Kind of looks like you. Yeah, he's a working guy. Now, as our discoverers did come in here, they of course wanted to name the room after themselves, but you guys might notice it's not called the Jack, Reggie, and Miles room. Probably would have been a few too many hyphens. But it is called the Jeremy room, and the way they came up with that name is they took the first 2 letters of each of their first names, J-A from Jack, R-E from Reggie, and M-Y from Miles, and came up with the name Jeremy, just in case anybody was wondering. Now, before we do continue on, does anybody have any questions so far? No. All right then. Thank you once again, voice of the group.
You're welcome.
Heck yeah, dude. Raise your hands, raise your hands. Okay, we got a few people. All right. My first time too. Found a shirt in the parking lot. Read the pamphlet on a quick study.
Be safe then.
Now, if you guys want to take a look off to your right, off over there, you guys see that very odd looking formation? Kind of looks like a whole bunch of tiny spikes coming sideways out of the wall. You guys see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Or was that sarcasm? Yeah, this thing right here.
Oh, yeah.
I've been seeing it. You?
Now, that right over there is going to be what we call our pin cushion, also known as a helectite. It is the rarest formation in either of the 2 cavern systems. It's so rare because the way it forms, most of the time when water comes down this way, it'll go through cracks or holes in the limestone. However, sometimes water will get pushed and pressurized through microscopic tubes in the limestone wall, known as capillaries. Eventually, that water will get shot back out of the wall, and when that does happen, it does leave behind very small calcite rings, which will eventually form these needle-like formations. Now, what's kind of fun about the needles themselves, though, is that they don't necessarily have to be straight like they are here. Sometimes, when the pressure in the wall is offset to one side or the other, they can actually form curves, or loops. So imagine that, a loopy rock. Now, as we do continue through, you guys might also see some green on some rocks. That's algae. Algae is no good for our formations. It destroys them. So we'll actually come through here periodically and spray our formations off with bleach. Now, that will kill the algae. However, the formations will be completely fine, with the single exception of the pin cushion. If we were to spray it off with bleach, it would be destroyed, as it is extremely fragile. So we do have to be very careful with it. We can't spray it at all. All we can do is turn off the light on it and hope no algae grows. But that said, we do heavily dilute that bleach with water. If we were to just start spraying plain bleach down here, people would probably start passing out. I don't know about y'all, but it doesn't seem very ventilated in here. Now, another fun fact about that, you guys might have noticed, the rails down here are a little bit cold as to what it feels like. And the reason that is because we actually have water running through all the rails down here.
Oh.
I felt my eyes.
That's not the rails though. That's actually just coming through the ceiling. Now, the rails, in fact, right underneath your hand probably, underneath the rail, is a small spigot. And yes, I have tested it. It does work. Please don't test it now. All right.
And that's just for cleaning department.
That is for both cleaning the trails as well as diluting bleach that we bring down here. All right. Any questions before we do continue further? All right, I'm gonna have you guys go down this hole right here. Now, if you guys want to take a look back up and behind us, you guys might notice all the lights are gone. There's no going back now. I'm gonna scooch past y'all real quick. Y'all better start looking for those crickets.
Ano, parang may ngipin.
So there's two reasons why we do that. One, to keep you from growing, and two, because when the next group comes in here, they get to do that whole reveal thing that I did. Alright. Now, quick question. Has anybody here ever seen the movie Snowpiercer?
Parang may
Do you
ngipin.
remember the protein blocks?
Yeah.
The black ones?
Yeah.
Crickets. Crickets and protein blocks. If you guys haven't seen it, watch Snowpiercer. It's a good movie, but not for kids. Alright. Now, before we do go on, we're going to be passing what's known as our Kangaroo Formation here in just a minute. Now, in 1985/1986, when they came down here and put the rails down, they put one of them underneath a consistent drip of water. Now, somehow they didn't notice that, so over the next 12 years, as it was left alone, it did develop a formation on it. So, as we go down this way, just make sure to stick off of the right-hand rail, and just make sure not to touch that on the left-hand rail. We're also going to be passing through a little bit of a tighter area, so just be extra careful not to touch anything in general, as well as be extra careful with your step, as it does get quite suddenly wet down this way. Alright?
Pauna mo na lang.
Or possibly.
Super nice. Wow. Just look at that. Wow. That's so nice,
So
right?
again, as you come down here, just be extra careful with your step, as it does get quite wet down here. And if anybody is feeling extra thirsty, we do have a free flowing water fountain. And so again, as you guys come down here, just make sure to stick off that right hand rail, as we'll be passing that handrail formation. So that right there is about 40 years old.
This 40 years old.
Wow.
Excuse me. Is there any reason that all the lights were turned off behind us?
Yeah, there's two reasons. For the first, it's to keep algae from growing on the formations. So we turn off the lights behind us, as well as it's to allow the next tour guide to do that dramatic lighting that I did in the beginning.
Sylvie, look up.
As you guys keep down here, just make sure to watch out. Do this big step at the end of the ramp. Luckily not. The first one was right here on this step, the second one was right there on that ramp. So this place is the place where we got the most here.
Wow. That's the best.
I also like this particular formation. It's just a formation. Its structure allows it to reflect light very so it has
Look at that, so shiny.
Not particularly. It's just a cool thing to look at. Yeah, pretty much.
I've noticed some of the formations.
Yep. There's plenty of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now watch your head here if you're taller than I am.
Now, Alison, look at it. So nice. See? Ay, look at that.
Take a picture with mom. I would never put you in danger. Let's not flash that lady.
Ano yung pinawag mo sa kanya? Wow, look at this.
Right there, see him?
Yep. You know, we used to have the second longest soda straw in the U.S. It was 14 feet. Uh-huh. And then it broke under its own weight.
I don't think a bat hit.
Nah.
Look at that.
Are there bats in this cave?
There are not, in
There
fact.
wasn't any over there either. There was one.
There are bats in the other cave. However, a lot of the time they like to hide in that crawlway.
Yeah.
They'll hide in there. You having a good time? I'll take that as a yes. Comes and goes.
Crazy.
That's fair, that's fair.
Super nice. Look at this. Look at this, Ali. So cool. Wow, it's so dark now. Wow, Ali, careful.
Now, if we take this nice and close to one of these formations,
Oh my god.
There's purple.
well, and then we turn it off,
Oh, cool.
it will continue to glow. Now, what that means for me is I can take it real close, and I can draw with it.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. Wow.
That's awesome.
Whoa. Wow, look at.
Yeah, we do have a couple minutes to spare. If you guys want to stand up, take a look around, take some pictures, you guys can feel free to do so. If you guys have any questions, of course, feel free to come and ask. And whenever you guys are ready. So the path will continue down that way into what we call the ballroom, and then up and out. About there used to be an adventure as far as I
So we're 180 feet right now?
Yes, sir.
So how far are they with the tunnel for us to be hearing the backup alarms and?
So the tunnel, so let's see if I can kind of paint a picture for you. So the tunnel, this right here is a slope. This right here is a slope upwards. Slopes up, and then right about where you stop seeing it, it starts to flatten out. About 30 feet past that, the start of that flat point, is a hole in the right wall. And that's where they are.
And that's where they blew up, they blew that with dynamite?
Yeah, so they're about 200 feet down.
Just imagine palusot pala doon.
So they're close. That's why you can hear them so well, and that's why you saw
180 feet, I know we're not hearing it.
That's true.
Now we're not hearing it from the surface.
Oh yeah.
Wow, look at that. Parang yung na-frozen na ano. Ito, okay, let's go here. Okay, let's go.
Well, let's go back to the car. Car? No, I think Rain Street.
Wow, look at that color.
Oh, that's so pretty. I didn't know there's some purple in there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, where does it come from?
It comes from the light.
The light is magical.
Kind of.
Oh. Oh, wow.
So when it's dark, you can draw on the walls.
Uh-huh. Even when it's light, you still can. It's just, oh, well, if my flashlight wanted to turn on.
Look at that, Ali. Watch, watch.
Yeah. See? Even when it's light, you can still draw on it. It's just a little bit harder to see.
You see that? That's so cool. Careful, your head.
Right here.
Look here, Ali.
You say this is 193 steps?
Uh-huh.
What is what? Steps.
From here, I think it's 145 from here back to the top.
Okay, that's good to know.
Just so you know.
Go.
Yeah, have fun at the tour fest.
It might be somebody from my
Oh,
But after something.
oh my gosh. Oh boy. Let's keep going. Ali, wait for me. Let's wait for Tita. Okay. Pahinga ka muna. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
You still do it?
I think that.
Ilang step yung kanina, Tita? Na,
Steps.
140 from that. Pero all in all, 900.
Oh.
Oh boy. Go. All right.
Just a little bit further.
Okay. Go. Almost there. Wow. Whoa, that's a lot of. Daddy down there. No, we have to wait for them. This is now the door. Tino made it again.
Yes, again.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Everybody so excited. Oh my god. Everybody's so tired. There we go, finally. Whoa. Sit down first.
I do. You want some?